we maintain about 20 child themes. And you can see the actively maintained one by going to any of our EDU networks or the integrations network. And you can see there's 21 themes that our regular EDU clients will get. Let's look at this one. This book has Andreessen applied, and you'll see Andreessen is a child theme of McLuhan. Adunis, child theme of McLuhan. Asimov, child theme of McLuhan. And you'll notice also that we have some of these tags which give people a sense for what we think the book is, this theme is well suited for. Genre fiction, literary, nonfiction, same here. Child theme of McLuhan. Genre fiction, literary, and you can go through and you can see all of these themes are child themes. You'll also notice there's a version number for them. The version number is important because it tells you whether this theme has been converted to use the Buckram components or not. If it's version 2 or greater, it does. If it's not, it does not. So these are all Buckram themes, and this one is not, for example, Bukowski. And the way that you'll notice the difference is if you apply Bukowski and you look at your theme options, you'll notice that when I go to web options, there's not very many theme options. When I go to PDF options, there's not very many theme options. If I pick a different theme like Andreessen, which is in the 2.0 family, and look at theme options, you'll notice, look, I have these color customizers for all of the text boxes. Those are things that Buckram made possible. And these theme options appear because this theme is using those Buckram components and those theme options. If I go to the PDF exports, you'll see, oh, wow, there's a lot of other PDF exports that relate to the page model that can be now customized and controlled because this theme, this child theme, has been Buckramized or uses Buckram. So that's something to know there when you're looking at themes and theme options. In the case of Malala and McLuhan, there's one extra difference. You'll see this what we call shapeshifter, and that also appears in theme options. So you'll look at web options. This header and body font picker only appears in the ones that have been shapeshifterized. And so this right now is only Malala and McLuhan. But what it lets a user do is choose a custom typeface for headers and body fonts in the web, which could be separate from the PDF, which could be separate again from the EPUB. So it really lets the user kind of break out and control their typefaces. To add support for Shapeshifter, basically you have to import the Shapeshifter font stack web here, and then it will say try to use the Shapeshifter font if it's declared, and then if not, fall back to this kind of defaults. Now there was something else that we had to write. This is in Pressbooks itself. So we have a function that's called is Shapeshifter compatible? And right now we've just said Malala is and Pressbooks book is. Like that's not the right way to do this, but that's what we're doing.
This would actually be a great candidate for doing the same thing that's done with global fonts, where you add theme support for Shapeshifter, and then that could be, this function could be removed and it could be placed in the functions file of those two themes.
So that's a little bit about the child theme situation. You'll notice that we have 21 themes, but not all of them have been Buckramized. So this one hasn't, this one has, this one hasn't. I think there's 3 or 4 maybe that we didn't finish the Buckram conversion process for. Ned was working on this we had a front-end developer that was working part-time. His name was Daniel, and he did most of the Buckram conversion work. The Buckram conversion, these are the ones that we did, and I think there's 6 that we didn't. Bronte and Donham were partially done, and there's a version of them that was deployed to our staging networks that is different from the production version. We just never did finish that project or that process. Here's an example. Clark is a theme that is in the, Clark is in the two range, which means it does use Buckram. And so you'll notice that in its assets folder in styles, it has the kind of expected set of SAS components, which would modify and alter the Buckram changes. And then if we were to look at the other example would be Donham, which wasn't completed, the Buckram conversion task to finish it is just an open ticket that's still in this repo. So if you were to look at the dev branch, you'll see that this process has started, and there's a bunch of update for Buckram PRs that Daniel opened. But if you were to look at the master branch, not all of these commits have been completed and they're not all finished. So you can see some older things in place where this is like a transitional, not yet finished theme. And the release number reflects that. The release number is still, we made an upgrade to make it compatible, but we didn't finish this process. And Ned knows much more about this than I do because I came in kind of midstream on it all, but it has not been a major focus and no one's been touching that since Daniel left 2 years ago. So,
I mean, one thing that's worth noting is that a lot of those child themes really don't have much difference except for the fonts used in them. Like if you look at something like Cleary versus Bukowski versus Leonard, they're all pretty much the same, except they have like funky title fonts that distinguish them and make them sort of feel like a hard-boiled detective novel for Leonard, or a crazy book for Bukowski, or a kid's book for Cleary. And so in a lot of ways, it makes sense to not finish those conversions and rather have like a smaller handful of themes with Shapeshifter and expanded support. I mean, I think in some ways, the ideal approach to theming for Pressbooks would be to have one theme and then have different variable settings that can be applied to it.
A whole bunch of theme options that could let it be customized, yeah.
Well, yeah, and like preset combinations of them that recreate these other themes. But instead of having like 20 themes, you have one theme and 20 different variations for it, and then the ability to customize any of those variations, if that makes sense. So it's more like a bunch of different settings combinations that you can apply.